Hello everyone and welcome to another math video. Today we're going to be looking at the topic of probability, and so we're going to be looking at probability of rolling something with dice or with cards or with a spinner, or probability of simple events basically. A reminder that this is the full lesson version of this video, so we're going to sort of go through it step by step. We're going to look at different examples. If you want the shorter version where we just sort of go through it pretty quickly, I will link that in the description below. Before attempting this lesson, you should already know how to round decimals. If you want a refresher on that, I will link it in the description. So probability, here we go. Probability is a branch of mathematics that has to do with how likely something is to happen. So for example, they have this graphic here on the far left, okay, flying pigs, there is a 0% chance of this happening, right? Impossible. Something that's impossible cannot happen no matter what, okay? The next item on the list here is a die. Okay, if you have multiple, it's called dice. If you have one, it's called a die. So on this die, the probability of rolling, let's say, a 5. Okay, there's only one 5 out of 6 possibilities, so it is unlikely, right? Unlikely to happen. For a coin flip, okay, they call this an even chance because it should be 50-50, right? It should be a 50% chance of going one way or the other. For the spinner here, what's the chance of it landing on green if you spin it? Well, it should be pretty likely because there's more green than red. And then, the sun rising and the moon rising at night, okay, this is certain, right? It has a 100% possibility. Probability, possibility. Okay, so we're going to use this formula here to calculate our probability. And it's the possible outcomes out of the total outcomes. So it says you roll a 6-sided die, all right? And then it has this. What is the P parentheses 6? This P here just stands, this P here just stands for probability. So it's saying, what is the probability of rolling a 6? Well, the total outcomes would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there are 6 total outcomes, right? 6 total outcomes. And for the possible outcomes, the one that we're looking at specifically is what the question asked us, okay? And so the chance of rolling a 6, there's only one 6 on the die. So it is, remember, we're going to use this formula right here. Possible over total. So the one that we're looking at is a 1 chance out of 6 total. And this is our final answer because the instruction said write your answer as a fraction or whole number. Here's our fraction, 1 out of 6. Okay, here's our cool clock for today, which means that it's time for you to practice what you just learned. Go ahead and pause the video and try these 2 problems on your own. And when you are ready, go ahead and unpause the video and we will check your answers. Okay, now that you've had a chance to work these problems, let's check your solutions. For number 1 here, the plaid ties, there are 6 of them out of the total amount of ties, which was 27. Okay, 6 of them were plaid out of the 27 total ties, and depending on how your teacher wants the answer, this can be reduced. Okay, if you divide by 3, you would get 2/9 final answer. For the second one, the probability that it's a drink stand, there are 2 drink stands out of the 20 total. Notice that you have to add the 18 and the 2 to get the total amount of attractions. And then again, this can be reduced. Divide by 2, and your final answer would be 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10 chances. Okay. Now for this type of problem, let's take a look here. It says you pick a card at random. So you've got these 3 cards here. And it says, what is the probability that you pick an odd number? Maybe a little terminology refresher here. Odd numbers are 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, ... Okay, numbers that can't be divided by 2 evenly. So now that we have our odd numbers here on this list, how many are odd? Well, 1 of them, right? So it's 1 out of the 3 cards that are odd. But what we need to really pay attention to is here, it says write your answer as a percentage rounded to the nearest tenth. So first things first, let's talk about percentage. How do you convert a fraction to a percentage? Well, you take this and you multiply by 100. Okay, so you take 1/3. I'm gonna go to my calculator over here. Take your 1/3 and you multiply by 100. Okay, which is giving me 33.3333 repeating, right? Now, and then it says rounded to the nearest tenths. So again, you should already know how to round. So this would be 33.3%. All right, so you have a 33.3% chance of pulling an odd number. Okay, it's time for you to practice what you just learned. Go ahead and pause the video and try these two problems on your own. And when you're ready, go ahead and unpause the video and we will check your answers. Okay, now that you've had a chance to work these problems, let's take a look. It says, what is the probability that you roll or that you spin and get an 8? So that would be 1 chance out of 4. If you multiply this by 100, because it says write your answer as a percentage, you should have gotten 25%. For the second one, what is the probability that you get a 4? Well, that would also be 1 out of 4 chance. And so this would be times 100, and you get the same answer, 25%. All right, for these two problems, let's take a look at these. Start with number 1 here on the left. It says you roll a 6-sided die. What is the probability that you roll a prime number? Okay, I find that most people need a refresher on what is a prime number. So prime numbers are numbers that only can be divided by themselves and 1. For example, 2 can only be divided by 2 and 1 evenly. 3 can only be divided by 3 and 1. 4 is not a prime number because it can be divided by 4, 2, and 1. 5 is a prime number. 6 is not a prime number. 7 is a prime number. 8 is not. 9 is not. 10 is not. 11. Okay, and you could keep going with the list here. On a 6-sided die, how many numbers are prime? Well, 2 is prime, 3 is prime, 5 is prime. And so that would be 3 out of the 6 numbers would be prime. And again, this can be reduced if you divide by 3, so 1 out of 2. So this is a 50% chance, right? A 1 out of 2 chance is just 50% chance of rolling a prime number. For this problem over here, what is the probability that you get a factor of 49? If you need a refresher on how to generate factor lists, okay, 49, you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not going to go past 6 because it's a 6-sided die. And then you just divide. You do 49 divided by 1 is 49. 49 divided by 2 is a decimal. 49 divided by 3 is also a decimal, so we don't use it. 49 divided by 4 is a decimal. 49 divided by 5 is a decimal. 49 divided by 6 is a decimal. All right, so on a 6-sided die, the only number that is a factor of 49 is 1. So it's 1 out of 6. And this is our final answer, can't be reduced. Okay, it's time to practice what you just learned. Go ahead and pause the video and try these two problems on your own. And when you're ready, you can unpause and we will check your solutions. Okay, now that you've had a chance to work these problems, let's take a look at your answers. What is the probability that you have a divisor of 35? Divisor, factor, okay, these are the same words. If you made your list, the only number that should have been on there was 5. So this is a 1 out of 4, and it said write your answer as a percentage rounded to the nearest tenth. So this would be 25.0% because it said rounded to the nearest tenth. So you can't just put 25%, it has to be 25.0%. All right, for the second problem on the right, prime numbers would be 2, 3, 5, and 7. So that is 4 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers. And so when you wrote that, when you multiplied by 100, you should have gotten 66.66, repeating, dot, dot, dot. And when you rounded it to the nearest tenth, you should have gotten 66.7% final answer. All right, that is it for today. I hope y'all have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.